We began this module by looking at the identification of assets and how to both protect and determine the value of these assets. Now let us take a look at IT asset management, or ITAM. The IT asset management entails collecting inventory, financial, and contractual data to manage the IT asset throughout its life cycle. ITAM depends on robust processes with tools to automate manual processes. In the IT management lifecycle, putting asset security into a useful perspective must start with a clear definition of what an asset is. And with that definition, have a way to deal with the many different types of assets that modern organizations need to keep safe and secure. Every organization depends upon three types of resources to work to achieve its goal and objectives. In broad terms, these resources can be grouped as materials, supplies, and assets. Capturing and integrating auto-discovery of inventory, financial, and contractual data in a central repository for all IT assets enables the functions to effectively manage vendors and a software and hardware asset portfolio from requisition through retirement, thus monitoring the asset's performance throughout its life cycle. Materials are the inputs to manufacturing processes, for example, the plastic to injection mold with or 3D print parts and packaging, the electronic components or subassemblies at the board or unit level, fasteners, and so on. Materials come in, finished goods go out. Supplies are items that are consumed by that manufacturing process or managing of it. Chemicals, shipping, and packaging materials, wire, glue, and the paper and pens of the office are all examples of supplies. This figure shows these relationships. Note that assets are the heart of business processes. Without them, nothing gets done. Assets remain with the organization. They might be purchased or otherwise acquired from the marketplace or developed in-house. Tangible assets are those that have physical existence, such as computer servers or buildings. Intangible assets are those that exist in the mind. They are ideas, data, information, plans, processes, questions. Consider a typical database used by an organization. The data contained in a database is one intangible asset. The software that is the database management system, DBMS, is another intangible asset. The storage array or subsystem it physically resides on is a third tangible asset, while the software executes on a combination of processors, more tangible assets. The endpoint device that an employee uses to access the database via its applications is connected via a network, another tangible asset, to the system. The procedural knowledge in the employee's head is an intangible asset, which is tacit knowledge if not written down in a procedure, which makes it explicit knowledge. Note that for information-intensive businesses and service organizations, the information that they use, the ones in the zeros of the data, ideas, knowledge, and perceptions, can be assets, process, materials, or products. Even so, it's simpler and very effective to treat them all as assets for loss prevention and value creation purposes. We will discuss providing security protection for the physical, tangible assets of the organization's information systems in Chapter 8. Asset management, like any organizational process, should be done in ways that conform to organizational governance processes and standards. These might include accounting and financial record keeping, insurance, health and safety, or other compliance requirements. Taken all together and looked at just from the perspective of information technology assets, tangible and intangible, this describes an IT asset management lifecycle. Notice that this figure reflects two very broad pathways into the management activity. One represents a requirements-driven, deliberate process. This assumes that no asset should exist or that it deserves management and information security protection if there is not an organizational goal or objective it is aligned with. The other path is more of a discovery channel. It recognizes that many IT assets are part and parcel of the organization's ways of doing business right now, today, and that these assets need to be evaluated, assigned to an accounting group or class, and have their information security needs determined via categorization and classification processes. This ad hoc or discovery channel is, or should be, coupled with the organization's technical security processes of systems, enumeration, baselining, and management. Note that the decision to manage a discovered asset can include disposing of it securely, one hopes, or allowing it to remain outside of formal asset management processes, including those for configuration management and change control. Let's look at this IT asset management lifecycle again. This time, we should focus on the information security management activities in each step. To begin, planning needs to establish the alignment of the asset with goals and objectives, which produce the contribution to the organization's bottom line that the asset should produce. This stage should identify the IT asset, data, software, hardware, or a combination. Several different asset valuations can be determined at this time, including total costs to acquire or develop, deploy, support, and use throughout the asset's operational lifecycle, total anticipated revenues attributable to the use of the asset, total competitive advantage that exclusive use of the asset by the organization provides with respect to competitors, and total harm that can occur to the organization if the asset is compromised, damaged, or put out of operation for an extended period of time. Note that some of these valuations may be assigned qualitatively, as on a high to low ranking or some other non-measured manner. Most, however, can and should be quantitatively determined from measured or estimated numerical values. Assigning security needs first looks at classifying and categorizing the asset in terms of the harm the organization or others may suffer through unauthorized disclosure, use, alteration, or interference with that asset and its essential meaning and content. This will be examined further in the section on classification and categorization. This helps determine the functional security requirements, but does not directly leap into choosing or implementing security controls or processes for it. Continuing the process, acquiring the asset can now proceed with greater confidence that needed security considerations for its design and use have been identified. This may be a combination of in-house development, even by citizen programmers within the organization, third-party development, or purchase of licensing or commercial systems elements. Deployment to operational use may involve training end users and support personnel on security-related aspects of the new asset. It should also include procedures for how to protect information as it is stored in various physical or virtual storage media and devices. Almost all systems, devices, and endpoints, and many communications and network devices retain some data in their circuits, even after the power is turned off. This is known as data remnants. Planning for ways to deal with it and contain or mitigate the risk of unauthorized disclosure should start during asset planning, development, and acquisition. Managing the deployed asset includes ongoing security assessment. Does its specified security features or needs still work effectively? Has the threat landscape changed, requiring new or modified information security measures for this asset? Monitoring for performance and security is a vital part of managing the asset. Recovery and continuity planning and operations also take place as managed activities during this stage to help ensure that the organization can recover from an incident or disaster, restore functionality, and continue to perform business operations. This usually involves archiving of information, both for backup and restore operations, along with meeting historical or legal data retention needs. Retiring the asset addresses all aspects of disposal and destruction, which may be needed to address any data remnants issues. Disposal of data is often subject to legal, regulatory, and contractual compliance mandates. This will often require the right technical approach to sanitization or zeroization techniques for storage devices or other appropriate data destruction techniques, along with the record keeping to show that disposal has been done properly. This phase also includes any defensive briefing of end users or other staff members regarding any needs to maintain security measures regarding the about-to-be retired asset. Before looking further into how we determine the needed level of security controls, let's take a second look at the IT asset lifecycle. Comparing the planned and discovery models suggests that the first step in each have something in common, and that is making an inventory, catalog, or registry of all the information assets that the organization is aware of, whether they already exist or there's a wish list or need to create or acquire them. This is the first step in any asset management process, and it requires that we identify and locate all assets of interest, including and especially the information assets.